שעות רבות מול המראות, על פנייך כל צבעי המלחמה, מנסה עוד לפניי את כל התחפושות.
You know, when I started to think about formative Jewish events in our lives and how they differ because of where you grew up, I guess I immediately, came to it from who I am and my own relationship with Israel and my own relationship with the North American Jewish community. So I started thinking about, okay, what are my real Jewish formative experiences? And what struck me is that almost all of them have to do with Israel. But for almost all of them, I was in North America when those events in Israel were happening. And so I felt my own strange feelings, similar to the ones that were expressed, by the group, about guilt and obligation and support and what I should be doing in each one of those situations.
שיש הבדל מבחינת התחושה, זאת אומרת, הם באים ממקום שהם מאוד חברה קפיטליסטית, חברה שמאוד מאוד שונה מבארץ. אנחנו באים אחרי שירות צבאי, אחרי דברים שאנחנו עושים למען המדינה, למען קהילה. הם בעצם חיים כל אחד את החיים שלו מנפרד במהלך השנה.
ההרגשה, האהבה לארץ ישראל זה משהו שהוא נמצא כמעט אצל כל בן אדם, הרצון לחזור. גם הייתי שם יהודייה היחידה בבית ספר של גויים, ופשוט אמרתי להורים שלי, אתם רוצים שנגדל בתור יהודייה או בתור גויה? כי זה ממש כל החברים שהיו גויים. וזהו, ההורים שלי הבינו שזה מה שהכי נכון והכי טוב, שנקבל את החינוך היהודי הדתי שם.
The feeling of pride being a soldier in Israel when all of the things occurred, one of the most fulfilling I ever felt.
אני חושב שבתור ישראלי צריך לדעת מה הסיבה שאתה נמצא במדינה כזאת. זאת אומרת, זה לא מובן מאליו שאתה צריך להילחם על היותך אזרח במדינה מתוקנת. זאת אומרת, זה לא מובן מאליו שצריך לתת 3 שנים מהחיים שלך ולשים נשק עליך בגיל 18 ולהגיד, טוב, אני נלחם. צריך איזשהו מניע שיעזור לך לעשות את זה, כי זה לא דבר קל. זה לא דבר שילד בן 18 יכול, וואלה, אני עכשיו הולך לשרת בצבא ולהגן על משהו שאני לא יודע עליו כלום. אז בעצם בתור יהודי ישראלי ששירת בצבא, אני חושב שזה נתן לי ערך מוסף.
These two cohorts, and they're both highly engaged groups of young Jews and with enormous experiences. I mean, in order to come and do shlichut, you have to really believe in being an ambassador of Israel. And in order to work here as a North American, you have to want to take part in an all-inclusive 24/7 Jewish community.
שאין הרבה הזדמנויות לבוא ולחיות עם יהודים שלא גרים בארץ ולא חיים את המנטליות הישראלית ולא שירתו בצבא ולא מודעים למה זה להיות ישראלי, זאת אומרת ברמה של יום-יום. אני חושב שזה לבוא אליהם ולהראות להם מה זה ישראליות, זאת אומרת לדבר איתם בגובה העיניים בתור בן אדם שחווה את זה ובא לספר להם מה זה.
Being an Israeli here is so important and makes me proud, and I'm happy to represent my country here. All the people in camp love Israel and really wants us to, teach them. And
I think it's important to understand the nature of the modern Jewish community. The American Jewish community, particularly the New York area, is really the equivalent of what Baghdad was in Mishnaic and Talmudic times, and it really is. I don't think you can question that. It's a community that harbors this kind of progressive and moving and a vibrant and alive Judaism that brings it to the modern world. And if you look at and the Israeli community and the American community are really partners in that.
Hey everyone, from now on, you're no longer campers in Camp Ramah. From now on, you're Israeli soldiers. Do you understand?
We can't hear you, do you understand? Yeah!
ended up sitting at the end of the table with two Israelis. And we got into this whole discussion about life and about plans and everything. And when I told them that I am planning to go and serve in the army, there was a pause. And I sort of turned away, started talking to some other people for a couple minutes. And at one point, one of them looked back at me and he said, "Ari, we'd like you to know that we appreciate you." And for me, that was like a really big thing.
That's where I'm rooted. And it's not saying that I'm not Zionist and I don't love Israel, because I do love Israel. But I love this country and what it allows me to do with being Jewish, and how it allows me to love Israel. And
I always feel like it's almost an obligation for me to, no matter what the cost is, defend what the Israeli army did. Doesn't matter, like Eyal said, it really doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. It's that this is the country that resides within me. This is the country that I identify with religiously and personally. And if they're going to do something to protect themselves, or what they believed was necessary to protect themselves, then I have to protect their actions.
I think for the North Americans, they've confronted this whole notion of obligation to Israel in very significant ways during this process.
Israelis walk around with this morality of living each day like it was not like it's their last, but really appreciating each day, because you never know what will happen. Because you go to the army for 2-3 years of your life, and your friends go to the army, and things happen, and people die there, and it isn't this little sugar-coated world we live in here. And I can't completely understand, because I haven't been to the army, and my friends and parents and cousins aren't in the army right now, but I could say that I have felt they're living for the day.
So that summer was when the war with Lebanon broke out in Israel. And when I heard about it, my first thought was about my 4 friends that I knew that were fighting. And for the first time, something that was happening in Israel did feel personal, because instead of just thinking, okay, there's a war going on, I could picture my 4 friends and them having to serve. And I especially thought of the 2 that didn't want to be there, and thought about what that must have been like for them. And it changed my entire view of the Israeli army and what it means to be an Israeli growing up in Israel and not get the luxury of being able to do whatever you want when you're 18 like I do.
אני חושבת שהיהודים בארצות הברית מאוד תומכים במדינת ישראל, וישראל מאוד צריכה את התמיכה שלהם.
And others just feel this like awakening. Like, what have I really done for Israel? Have I done enough? And I need to further this conversation.
Being a Jew in America, when we talk about that, saying how it's easy to be a Jew in America, we use America as a means to Judaism. That America as a means to make it easier, as opposed to living as a Jew in Iraq, for example, would be more difficult. But I think being a Jew in Israel is more than just a means. Israel is an end. Living as a Jew, fulfilling your Jewish national and religious identity as a Jew in Israel, I think is very different than it is in America. It's not just that it's easier, there's an actual ideal inherent to it.
What's our obligation towards you guys is to make the relationship between diaspora and Israel stronger, because you guys need us and we need you. It goes both ways. So I'm not saying that you have no right to criticize what we're doing. Yes, you do, but there's timing.